It is Friday, August 2nd, 2019. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very sparse get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. We basically just did some technique and until the end. And until the end, we got in a nice 5-minute roll. And I got my ass kicked just a little bit. But then I kicked some ass, and then I went back to get my ass kicked. It was one of those things where I was trapped in such a position where I was literally suffocating, and he was working on a choke. So it's like, I could tap because I'm about to pass out, or I could tap because he's about to choke me. Fuck it, I'm gonna tap. You kind of trapped at that point, you know. It's one or the other. But I did avenge myself, and I figured out really quick that with this particular gentleman, the trick is to not let him get on top. And I know that sounds really fundamental and all, but his biggest strengths are when he is on top. You know, because number one, he's big. But number two, he really knows how to use that weight in order to keep you pinned, and he's also really good at feeling out when you're moving towards a defense or a defensive movement. And so I tried to take it easy to begin with, but his style is such that was not really possible. I managed to keep the underhook for quite a while, but he did manage to circumvent me and got me in kind of a precarious position. And then on top of that, threw in a nice collar choke. So I can't fault him for it. But then the next round after that, I had to kind of avenge myself, and so, like, the first thing I thought about was just don't let him get on top, stay dominant. And so that's what I did, and I stayed dominant for the entire time right before I did manage to choke him. I pulled one of his collars out, and I had it at the wrong angle to begin with, but I had pulled it through, and so I moved to a north-south position and re-grabbed it, and then grabbed the other collar and pulled and squoze him. But yeah, basically I got a little barbaric on it. It wasn't the cleanest of chokes, but it was a choke. It wasn't I was getting him around the chin or something like that. It was I had it wrapped around his neck, and he was choking out. So I'll take it. It was a win. But this is the thing, and I really probably should have just let him do the thing that he did the first time. Be real dominant, assert a top position, because it was putting me in trouble, and I really need to feel out that position of being in trouble and trying to work my way out of it. And to me, it's not enough that I know to be aggressive to begin with on this particular individual, because everybody is different. I could go up against somebody who's the same size and whatnot, but for whatever reason, I have an extreme amount of trouble, changing the position and changing the balance of power. And so, like I said, I think it's a good thing to be put in a very compromised position and try and work your way out of it. And like I said, I probably would have, but he had his weight really up on the upper part of my upper body, and so it was really difficult for me to breathe. And like I said, he had that choke sunk in pretty damn good. So it happens. You're not always going to submit people. Sometimes you're going to get submitted, and I'm sure that there were at least 4 other guys in that room that I wouldn't have been able to submit in addition to being submitted. So again, this is no self-aggrandizement. I'm a little too smart to concede, to act that way about it. I mean, really, because I know better. I know that there are plenty of people out there who can kick my ass. I'm catching up to a few of them. Maybe the slower among them, but I'm still catching up to some. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down into some music. As far as subject matter, I've got some stuff up, but I'm not I'm not solid on a direction yet. So, crypto Twitter could drive us off into an entirely different direction than we start on, but we'll roll with it. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with our first dance. And I'm feeling the need for some body count. So here it is. The ski mask way. First dance. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Voivod with Orb Confusion. And it's got a really, really long trail at the end of it. And unfortunately, I'm just going to have to go ahead and skip to the next one. Skip. Damn it, Jim. There we go. Anywho, as far as what we're going to get into today, got a lot of good stuff on here today, honestly. It seems like a little bit of a shifting of the tides when it comes to cryptocurrency. Seems there's been some changes in the minds of people out there in the way that they regard crypto. So we're going to start off with this one from Cointelegraph.com. It's written by Anna Alexander approximately 4 hours ago. So no penis. Steve Bannon, crypto to become part of global populist revolt. Stephen Bannon, co-founder of Breitbart News and former chief strategist for U.S. President Donald Trump's administration, expressed his admiration for Bitcoin, seeing it as part of a, quote, global populist revolt, in an interview with CNBC's Squawk Box on August 2nd. Global populist revolt. Bannon argued that the leading digital currency, Bitcoin, could very well be an important part in, quote, this global populist revolt, with cryptocurrencies having a big future. Bannon thus reiterated words from his lecture in Zurich this spring when he stated that cryptocurrencies and blockchain will, quote, empower the populist movement, empower companies, and empower governments to get away from the central banks that debase your currency and makes slave wages. Damn. Bannon further stipulated that he anticipates that developing countries will use cryptocurrency to escape the dependence on the US dollar as a reserve currency. Bannon said, quote, I happen to think that Facebook was principally against some of the Chinese, Alibaba, Tencent, etc., these payment systems. I think that what people have to confront now, and people have started looking at, is how the Chinese and third world countries in sub-Saharan Africa, in South Asia, and I think potentially in Latin America, are starting to put these payment systems in. They're going to kind of give them, try to give them global dominance and be able to get off the reserve currency of the dollar. To enter the world of crypto. In June, Bannon held private meetings with both cryptocurrency investors and hedge fund managers about the possibility of issuing an initial coin offering through his investment firm Bannon & Company. Bannon's current interest in cryptocurrency ostensibly addresses the possibility of countries creating their own cryptocurrencies based on their national wealth, bringing up the example of an Italian digital currency backed by the country's marble deposits. Quote, It was pretty obvious to me that unless you got somehow control over your currency, all of these political movements were going to be beholden to who controlled the currency. Yeah, I think that's not. I think he kind of misses the point there. There is a comment on here. Let's check that one out. This is by Ivan Franciscovich. Quote, to control a country's debt, can cryptocurrencies somehow replace the debt paradigm? That would be something. That could potentially be the end of the nation state as the prevailing entity. Yeah, only in the sense of monetary system. You know, I think that's have so much trouble with this because this seems to be the point where so many people have trouble with cryptocurrencies, is that they keep looking for somebody who's in control of shit. And even with highly governed systems, we do not see compliance. I mean, with Bitcoin, if we were 100% compliant with what Blockstream was putting out, we would be implementing SegWit. Every single person would be. But we don't have to. And a lot of us don't want to. So we don't. And the result of that is over 60% of the transactions in every single block are non-SegWit transactions. You know, it's not a matter of what you think is good for Bitcoin. It's a matter of how we want to use Bitcoin. And I think this is the point that so many people have trouble with. It's like, no, I want to control it. You will do what I tell you to do. No. If I've got a wallet and I've got coins in it, I will spend them how I choose, with whom I choose, when I choose. And that's pretty much the long and short of it. You know, unless we're talking about I'm dealing with an exchange, then of course they're going to nick me for fees and all that other bullshit. But outside of that, you know, if I was using cryptocurrencies the way that they were intended to be used, i.e. as digital peer-to-peer cash, I wouldn't be involving an exchange or another third party at all. You know, I keep seeing waves of people on Twitter trying to convince people that Lightning Network is somehow the same as using Bitcoin. It's not. And if you've bothered to read the fucking Bitcoin white paper, you know this. And that's another thing. You know, I've actually seen waves of people trying to shame people for comparing what's going on now with Bitcoin. You know, with Bitcoin as described in the white paper. Look, if it's not operating as described in the white paper, then you're potentially operating a fraudulent operation. And I don't blame people for suggesting that Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme with that kind of bullshit going on, with people trying to redefine for you what Bitcoin is, and not just, you know, stupid ass developers that got their own little memetic and their own semantic grid that they're viewing things through, but also governments and corporations and all that when they're telling you about their service or their requirements or whatnot, they present it to you in the same paradigm, in the same mental context that you already have for, say, your credit card or the US dollar. When in fact, the monetary unit, the US dollar, has very, very little in common with Bitcoin. You know, for one thing, Bitcoin, if you're not in the red when you're mining it, isn't a matter of credit. You know, so when you get the block reward, you actually had to dedicate work to get it. You know, nobody just hands it to you. And if they do, then it is credit, and that's a whole different story. But the unit itself is not debt. It's representative of work already performed. No Bitcoin miners, no Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is the block reward for the mining. No mining, no block reward, no Bitcoin. You see how that works? It's not the same with the US dollar, though. The issuers of the US dollar can just wave the magic wand, put a few more zeros on the balance sheet, and make up a few more billion or even trillion dollars, and start running that printing press. You can't do the same thing with Bitcoin. You actually have to mine the fucking Bitcoin. It can't just be issued. Now, there have been several entities that have tried to change this, where they're issuing their own tokens against some volume of Bitcoin. But that's no different than what Ethereum is doing, and Ethereum is doing it in a 100% transparent way. I mean, much more so than some of the paradigms that I hear described with regard to the Lightning Network and other off-chain solutions. So yeah, and I find that kind of offensive, really, because What's the use of trying to reintroduce the concept of trust into a non-trust-based relationship? If I don't have to trust you in order to receive the fucking money from you, then why should I need to trust you? Why do you want to put me in a position where I need to trust you? I mean, that's really the clincher. That's the point where the regulator comes in and oversees that you are actually fulfilling on what you're saying that you're doing for your clients. Because that's kind of relationship it is, really. Server and client. Anyway, so moving along, got this other thing. There's always these suggestions about cryptocurrency being used for quote-unquote illicit purposes. And what might illicit purposes be? Perhaps purchasing things that are not necessarily legal within your jurisdiction via cryptocurrencies, specifically to avoid any kind of regulatory oversight. But the facts don't necessarily reflect that, and MIT says so. Let's get into this thing. So on Coindesk.com, MIT's AI lab analyzed 200,000 Bitcoin transactions. Only 2% were quote-unquote illicit. And this is by Lei Quen. No penis. Kind of hot looking too. Anyway, August 2nd, 2019 at 1300 UTC. Continuing on. Blockchain analytics firm Elliptic collaborated with researchers from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology to publish a public data set of Bitcoin transactions associated with illicit activity. The group's study detailed how researchers at the MIT/IBM Watson AI lab used machine learning software to analyze 203,769 Bitcoin node transactions with roughly $6 billion in total, or worth, roughly. Yeah. The research explored whether artificial intelligence could assist current anti-money laundering procedures. Only 2% of the 200,000 Bitcoin transactions in the dataset were deemed illicit as part of Elliptic's initial work. While 21% were identified as lawful, the vast majority of transactions, roughly 77%, remain unclassified. To date, there have been an estimated 440 million Bitcoin transactions since the network's launch in 2009. To be clear, the 2% comes from an elliptic dataset that was previously not public, and the figure was merely affirmed by the MIT researchers' analysis. The data point is in line with a study from competing analytics firm Chainalysis, which estimated just 1% of Bitcoin transactions in 2019 were known to be associated with illicit activity. Since Elliptic is frequently hired by law enforcement agencies around the world to identify illegal activities using cryptocurrency, this research aimed to identify patterns that can help distinguish illicit usage from lawful Bitcoin usage, especially among unbanked individuals or other unknown entities. Quote, "A big problem with compliance in general is false positives. A big part of this research is minimizing the number of false positives," Elliptic co-founder Tom Robinson told CoinDesk. The key finding is that machine learning techniques are effective at finding transactions that are illicit. Yeah, okay, so what? You're not going to do jack shit about them. The money changed hands, too fucking late. Move on. Sometimes, Robinson added, software was able to find patterns that would be difficult to describe, yet still matched with known entities based on pre-existing data from darknet markets, ransomware attacks, and other criminal investigations. Okay, and so they're not just harvesting this information from the wild, they're finding associations with it in the meat world, and going kind of extrapolating from there. Continuing. Following the academic study, Elliptic made the same dataset public to encourage open source contributions. On the AML side, we are sharing our early experiments with domain experts to solicit feedback, MIT researcher Mark Weber told CoinDesk, adding, quote, "We are also hoping the release of the Elliptic dataset inspires others to join the effort to help make our financial system safer by developing new technologies and models for AML." CNBC reported in April that surging demands for U.S. $100 bills was likely driven by a rise in global criminal activity. A 2017 report by the American Institute for Economic Research estimated that more than a third of all U.S. currency in circulation is used by criminals and tax cheats. Oh, geez. You know, I think the whole paradigm of coerced taxation is going to be going away. You know, this idea that they can just gank your money from you or stop you from being able to spend it, I think that's pretty much going away. And I think that's really what this MIT information should be telling them. That it doesn't really matter, you know, if you do use some sort of AML KYC bullshit, there's going to be people using cryptocurrency outside of it. You know, they had a 77% of the traffic could not be classified. It wasn't necessarily illicit in any other sense than they probably weren't paying taxes or any kind of duty on their transactions other than the transaction fee, of course. But, you know, this brings us back again to the same issue over and over and over again, that really government's only control in cryptocurrencies is going to be their level of participation and their willingness to allow it to go forward. Because the fact of the matter is trying to tax it and harvest taxes from us forcibly with it will only inspire people to try and use it in darker and darker ways. That's plain truth. You know, we can argue against that and whatever, but it's not going to make it true. You know, this evidence is it plainly. I mean, usually they're able to tell you like the class of the transaction by who's involved in it and what's actually being bought and sold. Obviously, they cannot get that information or all of the information that they need to be able to make those kind of assessments on 77% of the transactions that are on the network. I mean, what does that tell you? That tells me that they don't have their names, they don't have their addresses, they don't have a consistent association between the addresses provided to be able to say, you know, this person is a criminal, this person is not a criminal, you know, this person is buying groceries from another country and they're paying for it in cryptocurrency. They're not able to tell you that shit. And if they cannot discern between somebody buying groceries and taking advantage of some sort of international arbitrage rate, you know, if they can't discern between that person and, say, a quote-unquote terrorist, then they really can't be utilizing those tools to try and bust people. You know, I think that the thought is that they're going to be trying to nick people here and there, and that the overall message back to the rest of the market is going to be, fucking comply or we're going to bust you. And I don't really think that that's going to be the case with regard to cryptocurrency. I believe what's going to end up happening is that we're going to see that you're able to monitor and prosecute us for not cutting you in on our transactions on specific cryptocurrencies. And we're going to notice that people are getting away with doing huge transactions without any taxation, and we're going to say, I'm going to use that currency that they're doing that with. so that I can avoid the taxation that I'm experiencing on this network with this coin. Because obviously there's a differential between how this coin is monitored and how that coin is monitored. And if no such coin exists, we'll examine the ways that we think you're busting us, and we'll modify a coin and deploy that. I mean, this game, it's really easy. You can avoid all of the bullshit right now and just get off of trying to regulate it. Get your reins around the goddamn the legacy markets, and then come and worry about, you know, whether or not your people are funding some bullshit that's significant enough for you to go after. Because the fact of the matter is, it doesn't really exist. Most of the people involved in cryptocurrencies are involved because it actually satisfies their needs. And that isn't everybody. You know, some people have perfectly legitimate jobs and they're making enough money via that perfectly legitimate job to get by and satisfy all their monetary needs. But then others of us aren't in that category. You know, others of us have issues with employment due to distance or availability or something to that effect. And I expect that to change too. I really think that most of the travel that we do to and from work is completely wasted energy. You know, the fact of the matter is that most of us have a powerful enough computer sitting in front of us right now. You could fucking work on your goddamn Xbox, you know, Xbox 360 or higher. That's basically a computer. I mean, basically, if you could sign into a site via that, you could work from anywhere on planet Earth you got that thing plugged into. It's just a matter of your employer and whether or not their goal is to have you come into their fucking office or just get the work done. You know, whichever one they hold is a higher value, you know. And I think in the longer term, we're just not going to be able to care. We're not going to be able to afford to care where you are. If you can get the work done from the Poconos, fucking get it done, man. Bust out that laptop, hammer out that code, get it done. That's what's going to be important. And if you can get it done better than somebody else, you might even get paid more. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I'm feeling the need for some textures. So here it is. Oceans Collide. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Rivers of Nile with A Home. And so, speaking of never calling something a home, I got this thing on Cointelegraph.com by Max Body, so yes, penis. Circle OTC trading branch head Daniel Matsuski resigns. Daniel Matsuski, Matasuski. There we go. Head of over-the-counter trading at the money transfer and bit licensed crypto trading company Circle has resigned. The block reported news of Matasuski's departure on August 2nd. He apparently said he was resigning to pursue, quote, a brand new entrepreneurial opportunity in crypto. According to the report, an anonymous source said that Nick Gustafson will be entering Matasuski's prior role. Gustafson previously worked as a trader at cryptocurrency exchange Kraken's OTC unit, and appears to have worked as a trader at Circle for a little over a year, according to his LinkedIn profile. Circle's OTC department. As previously explained by Cointelegraph, OTC trading may be an attractive option to crypto investors. In addition to Circle, crypto platforms like Coinbase and Binance have opened OTC desks, and did so in the middle of the crypto winter, no less. OTC desks allow traders to transact directly with each other, which can be especially important for companies that can't comply with the listing requirements for traditional exchanges. In January, Circle said its OTC trades had a notional volume of $24 billion in 2018 and was only expecting volume to go up this year. Quote, "This year we anticipate further incremental growth in institutional adoption, catalyzed by stablecoin usage, advancements in institutional custody solutions, increasing regulatory clarity, particularly in the United States, and improvements and innovation in core crypto infrastructure." Yeah, whatever. Projected future of crypto regulation. As reported by Cointelegraph, Circle CEO Jeremy Allaire recently said that he thinks the United States will implement crypto regulation as a check on overseas companies. According to Allaire, there is an increasing number of digital asset projects being developed outside the U.S., with American companies also migrating elsewhere to boot. As a result of this, he conjectured, quote, "I think it is ultimately going to lead to legislative initiatives to try to ensure that there are appropriate safeguards and investor protections, but also clarity, which is much needed to allow the technology and industry to flourish." Bullshit! Bullshit! Increased clarity means kicking you the fuck out. And you, I mean you listening. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about getting you out of mining. Getting you out of anything else other than being a fucking digital serf in this shit. And to that I have to say, when you look at the costs of compliance and you contrast that versus the cost of actually just making something and deploying the shit, you quickly notice that just deploying shit is way cheaper than complying. That being the default here, it's obviously in the whole list of incentives here, you're incentivized to not comply because compliance introduces all kinds of undue bullshit, undue costs, undue friction. And this is all digital. So it's like, this monkey in his belief about legislative initiatives curing anything. Ask China how much their fucking legislative initiatives have cured shit. Ask New Yorkers, like real New Yorkers that don't work for the NYDFS. Ask them, the traders that are involved there and the miners that are involved there. Ask them about how much they're incentivized to comply. And how much they actually do comply. I would be willing to bet if they are worth a shit, meaning if they are aware of what this technology is capable of, they're using a fucking VPN and they're trading via BitMEX or some other fucking exchange that is not licensed to operate in the state of New York. And good for them. This idea that you're going to just dip your fingers in and you're going to wall off the garden here and that it's going to keep us protected. Well, protection from what? Protection from what? I'm not losing fucking money on Bitcoin here. The Bitcoin that I have is mine. What little I actually have is mine. It's not something that just goes away, And so, what am I being safeguarded from? What am I being protected from? You can't provide me any better protection than that. You can't provide me any better safeguards than that. The safest hands are my own. And that being the case, any additional hands is just going to fucking cost me money. So, go bite some ass somewhere. And this guy leaving the Daniel Matuszewski, he's probably offered some big ass job in China or Hong Kong or or Japan, someplace else that is far more amenable to the existence of cryptocurrencies. And it is with that I got this article here on CoinDesk, and this one kind of interested me here. Now, one thing though, when people start trying to get you to talk in their terminology, so like federal government's referring to cryptocurrencies as crypto assets or digital assets or blockchains as distributed ledger technology. Think about what the words mean and what they imply. What about a digital ledger or distributed ledger? What about that says miners? It's not even a blockchain. It's a distributed ledger. It could just as well be, some fucking double entry accounting. They can edit it at any time. Accenture is deployed a fucking editable blockchain. So, when you're thinking about the language that people use, consider what it's implying to you. It's we've talked about the mimetic drift on this show concerning Bitcoin, where there's been several waves of pushes to get rid of the term Satoshi, referring to the smallest increment of a Satoshi. I mean, of a Bitcoin, rather. There's been a lot of effort to try and do that. Why would somebody want to do that? They want to alter your perception about how it operates and how it's supposed to function. They tell you not to read the white paper, and they're trying to get rid of the name Satoshi. And why would people try to do that? Could it be that they just want to change the memetics to where you're not thinking about it as quote-unquote Bitcoin, but a quote-unquote blockchain that anybody could be mining, but in fact, who's really mining it is governments and corporations, and you're not allowed to mine it, because it's a distributed ledger, and it's a permissioned one at that, and yeah, you get the idea. Now, think about this, though. If Bitcoin were ever to become like that, there's the existence of the proliferation of altcoins out there to contend with. They might not be the biggest networks in the world at the moment, but should Bitcoin ever become one of those things that's, relegated to other people's terminology and divided up to where it no longer represents or even functions the way it was intended to, what do you think the likelihood is that people will switch to other coins? I think it's pretty fucking high. The proliferation of altcoins happened for a reason. Just like the birth of Bitcoin happened for a reason. There were reasons behind that. It didn't just happen it didn't just happen spontaneously. There was plenty of pressure to try and take the reins of the monetary capital going around in our economy away from the centralized entities that they had been drawn to and handed over to. And it was created due to gross mismanagement, never to the public's advantage, always to the advantage of bankers. And Satoshi just said, you know what, this is bullshit. No. I want to create a currency that there is no fucking banker bailout with. And if somebody does bail out a bank, they're doing it with their own fucking money, not with mine. Anyway. I got this article here on Coindesk.com. South Korea declares partial regulation-free zone for crypto companies. You know what this really is? This is kind of a capitulation, as far as I can tell right now. Continuing on. This is by Richard Mayer. It was authored August 2nd, 2019 at 14:30 UTC. So yes, penis. Busan has been declared a, quote, regulation-free zone for blockchain development by South Korea's national government, a move long expected but now formalized as part of a larger liberalization push. Zug, Switzerland is said to be one of the models for the zone. The Ministry of SMEs and Startups announced on July 24th that the second largest city in the country by population will host a wide range of blockchain offerings related to finance, public safety, and tourism, though it stopped short of fully opening the market and allowing for international-level crypto initiatives, according to the Korea Herald. Actually, they're not going to have a choice. A total of 11 regulations have been lifted for the project. It is expected that investors will move 29.9 billion won, about $25 million, into the region by 2021, and development will be spread between Munhyeon Innovation District, the Central Innovation District, and Dongsam Innovation District. BNK Busan Bank, a Korean exchange-listed local institution, will supervise blockchain management as it relates to finance and might be developing a stablecoin pegged to the won. Why? Hyundai Pay is supporting payment solutions and advances in tourism. The company, which is established in 2016 by the CEO of Hyundai BSC, also grandson of the founder of the Hyundai Group, signed a memorandum of understanding with the city in February in which it said it would move its headquarters to Busan to help it develop blockchain infrastructure utilizing the HDAC blockchain platform. Other elements of the program include a public safety offering by Gyeonggi province-based CoinPlug, which claims to be Korea's largest holder of blockchain patents. The development will include an app which allows citizens to video natural disasters and crimes and send the files to the appropriate authorities, complete with location information. A reward system will encourage the use of the app. The next stage will involve a database that will allow for the storing and sharing of information. BP and Solution, a Busan-based computer company, will work on blockchain as it relates to fisheries. Yeah, whatever. The region won't be completely, quote, regulation-free. However, ICOs will not be allowed, and the project is still decidedly conservative in terms of cryptocurrency. The stablecoin envisioned will be highly limited in terms of its use. It will mainly be a component of a reward system incentivizing participation in other local blockchain offerings, and will only be redeemable at certain establishments, making it more a voucher than a coin. Busan has explicitly said that the reforms are not designed to be cryptocurrency related. Yeah, they're not going to work either. While the government move has been billed as an exemption from regulation, it is more a controlled experiment with certain defined goals and is evolutionary rather than revolutionary, and fitting with Korea's general and persistent suspicion of crypto. No. Korea's government. South Korea loves fucking crypto, people. I literally read a tweet one time that said, if crypto dies, I die. And it was written by a South Korean when they were originally talking about some sort of regulation. And I can guarantee South Korea, this whole Busan-based BS, I would be 100% suspicious of this thing ever. I don't think this thing's going to work. But that's just me. Anyway, continuing. The plan was initially mentioned in April when Busan was reported to have won out over Jeju, a province already known for its relatively liberal policies. Jeju developed an ambitious and rather aggressive vision in 2018 to become a crypto island. Busan has long been a center for trading and finance, as well as a hub for innovation, and is the home of the Korea Exchange. The city has been working for some time on blockchain-related developments, including the use of the technology at the port. The recent designation of Busan as Korea's blockchain capital is connected to a broad policy drive by Korea's current administration. President Moon Jae-in has been promoting so-called, quote, regulatory sandbox, which allow for the temporary suspension of rules so that new technologies and services can be tested outside of the complex legal and bureaucratic environment in the country. A goal of 100 such sandboxes was set in 2019, and as of mid-July, 81 had been approved. In line with the sandbox push, the government has named 7 areas, cities and provinces, that will receive blanket sandbox privileges in certain technologies. South Jeolla province, for example, will focus on e-mobility, Daegu on smart wellness, and Sejong on autonomous driving. Yeah, I think that a lot of the technology that's coming out these days, autonomous driving and all that shit, I think that allows for more freedom, and yet there's these people that want to corral it into less freedom. Such as like cryptocurrencies. They talk about blockchains, and they talk about distributed ledger technology. They don't talk about you. They don't talk about you setting up your miners, associating them with a mining pool account, and firing away into the night. They don't talk about that. They don't seem to understand that cryptocurrencies, our interest in them, is a product of our participation in them. It's not just because it's something that circumvents them. I mean, I'm sure that's a grand appeal for a lot of people. But the fact that they're a product of us, the way they run, we choose that. The way we use them, we choose that. And so it's always funny to me when people are talking about blockchains that are outside of the context of money. Because it seems to me that they're trying to confuse the actual purpose of a blockchain and how the blockchain is actually produced. It's kind of sad, really. Because these are the same kind of people that are always disappointed with how this tech works. They're always disappointed. We have, I'll give you a good example, Ethereum. They are still talking about trying to go to proof of stake. Now, whether they actually ever manage that or not, I still consider it very doubtful. They might get the EIPs included, but as far as actually the miners themselves actually transitioning over to POS, this is a whole different story. They've been talking about trying to do that for the last 3 years. There have been several attempts to get the miners, hey, well, you go to proof of stake. I know you're set up for proof of work and all, and I know you got warehouses worth of hardware dedicated to proof of work, but we need you to go over to proof of stake so that the GPU miners can continue to compete. Well, what? No, this is my hardware. I've got it set up this way, and these are the EIPs that I'm going to implement. Bite my ass. That's the message they get pretty much every single time. So yeah, they've been scheduled multiple times to transition over to proof of stake, and it's never happened. And it's because Ethereum's network is composed of individual miners' hardware. No miners, no network, right? So the network gets to decide how the network is going to run, not the little devs pointing at it saying, "Hey, you need to do this because we've got this whiz bang plan that sometime in the future we're going to do that, and you need to do it." I mean, there was even talk of Ethereum 2. I don't know if that's still on the burner or if it's still bumbling around in the background or whatever. But it's basically, in my eyes at least, it's like a last-ditch effort to disassociate from the existing miners. Well, you lose your miners, you lose your fucking network. I mean, I guess that lesson wasn't really learned with the DAO hack and the response of rolling back the blockchain. That produced 2 Ethereums already. You know, you got a regular Ethereum and then Ethereum Classic, which is the non-rolled back version. So again, you know, the idea that the South Korean government is going to be, you know, having little sandboxes and only the activity that they want to allow is going to be happening within the sandbox. No. People will invest their monetary value and their time and their effort and their hardware as they see fit. And if it's into a project that competes with your state-backed fucking stablecoin buttcoin, too bad. You are not on a uneven playing field where you get to dictate all the rules anymore. You're on a leveled playing field. And your fiat currency, your national fiat currency, right now has an exchange rate and an exchange pairing on several exchanges with a coin that's probably managed by somebody about 18 years old, has very, very little experience with monetary theory except for what they've learned from their project. And that's the reality that you're facing right now. And your job is no longer to limit who has access to your coin. No. Your job is now be better than that coin that was deployed by that 18-year-old. That's managed by those less than 30-year-olds. Be better than them. If you can't be better than them, you're going to lose market share to them. And that is the new reality. And I know that there's going to be some additional fight. You know, the people are going to still talk about regulations and whatnot. But, you know, these regulation-free zones, this is to save face. Because Hong Kong and all the fucking neighbors of Korea, they know those motherfuckers are trading. They can see it on the network that there's billions of fucking dollars worth of transactions going on, both into and out of Korea, on these cryptocurrency networks. They can see it and they're like, well, you know, they're not really clamping down on it and they seem to be making money at it. So, you know, maybe we should kind of let up a little bit too and make the money here. That's what's going on out there. The U.S. government is no different. We posture differently, but that's pretty much what's going on here too. Where we talk about regulation, but we see again and again and again where there have been places that have instituted some regulations and the response is that the money goes elsewhere. The talent goes elsewhere. The companies go elsewhere. If you make it too expensive for them to be there, they will move somewhere else. It will move somewhere else. It will not die. It will not go away. It will just go somewhere else. And this is the new reality that we're in. And like I said, I see this all the time, that governments will say something and then nothing will happen and the market won't shift in their direction and won't be compliant with them. It'll just move around them. And then they shut the fuck up about it. As they should. Because this really doesn't belong to governments. So, you know, the estates they're trying to set up within it, you know, is not really within it. It's like alongside it and disassociated from it. You know, like the South Korean thing, they're talking about they're going to have their own little stablecoin butt token that they're circulating within these provinces. Who's going to circulate it? If you have the opportunity to buy something and transact in Dogecoin, are you going to use the state coin or Dogecoin? You're going to use Dogecoin. Why? Because you don't have 8 layers of bullshit between you and it and the place that you want to transact it to. Anyway, we got this next article here, and it's on Cointelegraph.com by Max Body. Judge to Chase. Buying crypto on credit, not necessarily a cash advance. Oh, so yes, penis. And this is authored approximately 6 hours ago. So here we go. Southern District of New York Judge Catherine Polkafalia has ruled that purchasing cryptocurrency with a Chase Bank credit card does not necessarily count as a cash advance as per Chase's contract. According to an opinion and order document dated August 1st, Judge Fala has denied Chase's motion to dismiss a number of the plaintiff's complaints, which center on the bank charging a user cash advance fees for buying cryptocurrency with a Chase credit card. The plaintiffs are Brady Tucker, Ryan Hilton, and Stanton Smith, who have brought a class action suit against the bank giant Chase. In the document, Fala summarized their class action suit as follows, quote, "This claim, indeed the entirety of the plaintiff's suit, is built on an argument that acquisitions of cryptocurrency could not be classified as cash advances within the meaning of the contracts. Chase disagrees, claiming that cryptocurrency acquisitions are, quote, cash-like transactions pursuant to the contracts and thus cash advances. The parties' dispute thus boils down to a difference of opinion concerning the proper interpretation of the term cash-like transaction. The reason that a number of Chase's dismissal motions have not gone through is because Judge Fala believes the plaintiffs have provided a reasonable interpretation of the term cash-like transaction in the context of Chase's contract. As Fala also explains in the document, the plaintiffs are interpreting the word cash as referring only to fiat money, and cash-like is referring only to legally recognized claims on cash, such as checks, money orders, and wire transfers, and notably not cryptocurrency. The defendants, on the other hand, believe that the term cash-like transaction applies to any means of payment, cryptocurrency-based or otherwise. Actually, they have no authority to make that determination. Notably, Judge Fala has not sided with the plaintiffs and said that their interpretation is correct. Rather, Fala has simply noted that their interpretation is plausible enough for them to proceed with their class action case. Fala wrote, quote, "At this point in the proceedings, however, it is irrelevant whether Chase's interpretation of cash-like transactions is more reasonable than the plaintiffs, because plaintiffs have identified a reasonable interpretation of cash-like transactions that would exclude purchases of cryptocurrency. The breach of contract claim survives the motion to dismiss." That's interesting. Because depending on how that moves forward, that could impact other banks as well. You could see other people making several such class action suits. And as a matter of fact, Wells Fargo would probably be drawn into question really fucking quick, because they've made several actions against their clients that didn't really have any legal merit per se. They're just operating on their own purview, with no clear designation of what violations are being made, and so I think that, again, if this one goes forward, and if in fact the plaintiffs are the victors, that could spell some significant doo-doo out for big institutions such as Chase, Wells Fargo, and others who have made decisions concerning their clients' funds, and whether or not they're operating legally or whatever. And I think that it'll be really, really interesting to see how that one shakes out. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I got some Korn playing. I haven't been playing Korn in a while. And this is a good song, but I'm kind of wanting something else from them. Let's see here. Korn. Here we go. Dead Bodies Everywhere by Korn, here on Coin Metal. And that was, I guess it was Perversions of Pain. God damn, I thought it was supposed to be Overt Enemy, but there must have been something wrong in the listing for Diablos in Musica. I'm gonna have to fix that. Anywho, as far as our next thing goes, got this thing on cryptoglobe.com. Brazilian crypto brokerage firm wins legal battle against bank that shuttered its account. And this is by Francisco Memoria, going by the picture and the name, yes, penis. And this is authored August 2nd, 2019. Brazilian cryptocurrency brokerage firm Intermedia, IPS, the LTDA. I'm just going to go with MIPS Ltd. has won a legal battle against local commercial bank Banco Bradesco over the closure of its account. According to finance magnates, the cryptocurrency firm was accepting deposits from its clients in both fiat and Bitcoin to offer them trading services, and had a similar withdrawal process. Its account at Banco Bradesco was being used for the fiat deposit and withdrawals. Last year, however, the bank reportedly blocked MIPS Ltd. account, citing unusual activity. The news outlet reports it was, quote, trying to prevent any fraud committed using its accounts. A Brazilian court has now ruled that the bank's decision for blocking the brokerage firm's account wasn't backed by any substantial evidence and ordered it to immediately reopen. The judge reportedly ruled, quote, there is no documentary evidence on the unusual movements that gave rise to the block. Brazil has notably seen various similar cases. In a lawsuit filed by a local cryptocurrency exchange, Mercado Bitcoin, against Spanish banker Santander, the court ruled in favor of the cryptocurrency trading platform as well. As covered, the bank was ordered to return over $335,000 to the exchange. The cryptocurrency scene has been growing in the South American nation, so much so that in April of last year, a blockchain association, the Brazilian Association of Cryptocurrencies and Blockchain, was launched to bring more regulations, debate, and progress to Brazil's cryptocurrency space. Earlier this year, the country's Ministry of Justice revealed it was studying Bitcoin over its potential use in crime. The country's President Jair Bolsonaro has, however, revealed that he doesn't know what Bitcoin is. Yeah, that's probably not something that you want to regulate then, because you don't know what it is. Yeah, I think that the Brazilian Association of Cryptocurrencies and Blockchain will end up going broke and fall out of use via dysfunction. You know, there's all these entities, and they keep popping up, thinking that they know the market better than the market does. Do you know how to spend your cryptocurrency? I know how to spend my cryptocurrency. So, you know, what do I need one of these guys for? I don't. You know, the secrets of cryptocurrency, you know, the things that make it objectionable for governments that want control over all the money, are so close to the surface that I don't expect them to stay secret. I believe that most people will take a look at a lot of these projects that are currently out there, and they're going to say they're really wonderful and they do a lot of functionality and shit, but they don't actually serve my purpose, which is money. I can't get none of the regular Brazilian money, so I need money. I'm going to fucking fire up the miner and mine. Because then I can trade whatever it is that I mine for another currency and maybe get an advantage over my fiat currency, my local fiat currency. You know, it's one of those things. It's like drones. You know, we got drones that we can fly around the world and kill people with, but you and I can't fly ourselves to work. You know, it's the same thing with cryptocurrencies. You know, they enable all this shit, right? But Bitcoin, it's been hobbled down to a bunch of people trying to get you to use it like it's the SWIFT network. And you got to run your own ATM. Or, better yet, hire a third party to do it for you. You know what I mean? I specifically remember that Bitcoin was designed specifically to be able to be used without the need for a third party. And I believe that ultimately that's what people primarily use it for. And the way you tell is that the use and price declines significantly when the price for transaction fees get up too high. That's the market talking to you. It's the market saying, you know what? I don't want to pay a $5-6 transaction fee to buy my groceries. I'm going to trade my Bitcoin for something with a much lower transaction fee and on a network that works just as well, say Dogecoin or Dash or Litecoin or Verge or Monero or Ethereum or Bitcoin Cash, and simply get around that bullshit. You know, it makes me laugh because there's plenty of entities that are trying to get you to use it. Like, you know, it's your new Visa card, man. You're not going to have a choice. You're going to use it the way we want you to use it. No. I don't think so. And I think in the longer term, what we're going to see is that people will ask specifically for a specific cryptocurrency to be paid in, and it won't necessarily be Bitcoin. It might be BSV. Oh my gosh, I know I made somebody fall out of their chair right there. But yeah, you know, it might even be BSV. It might be XRP. It might be XMR. Maybe ZEC. You don't know. But I can tell you this, that decision will be based on that person's temperament, for their level of risk aversion, their level of market exposure, you know, what they're necessarily using it for. Because, you know, they might be wanting it in Ethereum, knowing that they're going to flip it over at a later date for a higher profit. You know? But again, that decision is in their hands. And I think that is going to be the way that this market develops. That people will say, you know what, I'm willing to accept Bitcoin or Ethereum as a means of payment for my product or service. And there won't be a fucking entity on planet Earth that can stop them. You know, with that being the case, after a while, it's going to be kind of obvious. It's going to be like, okay, are we going to continue to piss away money telling people to try and comply and keeping the lights on at this office? Or are we going to take that money that we're dedicating to that and dedicate it to mining and turn it from a cost into a profit? I think the thing we read the other day about the SEC wanting to run nodes, I think that's kind of an indication of the United States market, at least. It's sobering up about this. That it's like, okay, we don't need all the regulatory bullshit because we can see everything that's going on in the network. There's no matter of trust here. It's like, this is happening. This happened. Anyway, I got this next article here on Cointelegraph.com. Buying crypto with the Apple Card violates its customer agreement. And this is by Max Body. So yes, penis. It was authored 6 hours ago. According to the Apple Card customer agreement, users will not be permitted to buy cryptocurrencies using the company's upcoming credit card service. Goldman Sachs published the agreement on July 2nd, according to a report by Reuters on the same day. As per the report, American tech giant Apple is releasing the Apple Card in partnership with investment banking company Goldman Sachs as part of a broader business plan to bring in more revenue through service offerings. According to the card's customer agreement, cryptocurrency purchases fall under the heading of cash advances or cash-like transactions. Holy shit, they're going to get in fucking court. Quote, cash advance and cash equivalents means any cash advance and other cash-like transaction, including purchases of cash equivalents such as traveler's checks, foreign currency, or cryptocurrency, money orders, peer-to-peer transfers, wire transfers, or similar cash-like transactions, lottery tickets, casino gaming chips, whether physical or digital, or racetrack wagers, or similar betting transactions. Gosh, why do I want to use your fucking Apple Card? I can't do anything fun with it. The user agreement then goes on to say that such cash advances and cash equivalents are one among a number of banned activities for Apple Card use, meaning that buying crypto with their card is forbidden. According to Apple's website, the Apple Card is a planned type of credit card service slated to launch this summer. Apple Card will be offered both through iPhones via the digital wallet app, as well as through Goldman Sachs issued consumer credit cards made out of titanium. Does buying crypto qualify as a cash advance? As reported earlier today by Cointelegraph, the banking giant Chase is currently facing a class action suit that hinges on whether cryptocurrency purchases qualify as a cash-type advance or cash-like transaction, as described in its credit card contract. Most recently, the judge overseeing the case has said they believe the defendant's interpretation, which states that cryptocurrency purchases do not fall into this category, is sufficiently plausible for continuing with the lawsuit. As such, a number of Chase's motions to dismiss have been denied, as they are closely related to this issue. And Ivan Franciscovich says, well, according to most financial regulators, cryptocurrencies are not money and not currency, but assets like gold. So can you buy gold with that card? Very keen, Ivan. Yes. I can think of at least one way around this thing, but I'm not going to describe it here. But nonetheless, I think this is really silly. Okay, they're basically they're providing you like a little jail cell in the shape of a credit card and or an app on your cell phone, and you're only allowed certain activities in there, and probably only at certain times too. There's probably some time restrictions on when exactly you can conduct such activities or so on and so forth, and they're not going to let you buy streaming porn on a good site or something like that. You know, like I said, that they'll have multiple little conditions on how you can use your money if you're using your money with them. And so again, this is getting into that list of incentives that every user is now capable of utilizing on their own and determining from those list of criteria which payment medium or network that they want to use. And, I can tell you right now from my own experience with several cryptocurrencies, they are a more viable option on their face than Apple Card, because I don't have all of those restrictions on how I can spend my money and who I can spend my money with. I understand if you're extending me credit, like I don't actually have the money, but you're allowing me to acquire some debt with you. I can understand then, because I'm spending your money. But if we're talking about my money, I deposit my money in my Apple Card account, I should be free to spend it as I see fit. And so, again, I don't know if this is just a matter of, what it extends on their credit side, or whether this is a condition itself of the Apple Card. And if it is, again, why would I want to use it? I've got a bank account that I can use and connect with a cryptocurrency exchange and do straight out purchases with it and sells. But because of that, again, why would I want to use fucking Apple Card? I can just turn some of my fiat into a fucking cryptocurrency, deposit the cryptocurrency onto a wallet, and spend it as I see fit. Yeah, I don't want to elect Apple to help me spend my money. So the next thing I got here is it's an article on newsbtc.com. SEC Commissioner advocates for regulators to take a dynamic approach to crypto markets. Actually, my dynamic approach is leave them the fuck alone and fuck off. But, I'm not the one that gets to talk to these guys. This by Cole Peterson, so yes, penis. As the deluge of regulatory measures looms on the horizon of the nascent crypto markets, many analysts and investors alike have been quick to plead with the regulators to not regulate the markets with the stroke of a broad brush and rather take a case-by-case approach. Actually, again, I'd rather they just fuck off. Now, one pro-crypto SEC commissioner is echoing these requests and noted in a recent speech that she believes a dynamic approach to the crypto markets will be the most effective and stop the U.S. from falling behind other countries when it comes to regulating the burgeoning markets. Actually, no. The more bureaucratic you make the processes here, the farther you're going to fall behind. Commissioner Pierce fears U.S. may fall behind other countries in crypto regulation. No. You're not falling behind in crypto regulation. You're falling behind in crypto innovation. Continuing. Last month, the world was taken aback when U.S. President Donald Trump and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin both shared their negative opinions on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, with the Treasury Secretary noting that crypto markets will soon be met with very, very strong regulations. No, they won't. Despite this, if these, quote, very strong regulatory measures are not forward-thinking and are implemented with the goal of restraining the technology, the United States may fall behind other countries. Actually, that's a certainty. Hester M. Pierce, a commissioner at the SEC, recently spoke about regulating the crypto markets during a speech in Singapore, where she explained that the country may drive companies and innovation into other countries. Damn right. Quote, I've often expressed my concern that the U.S. will fall behind other countries in attracting crypto-related businesses unless we are more forward-leaning in establishing a regulatory regime with discernible parameters. No. See, your values are not the same as ours. Our values are not funding you. Continuing. One peculiarity about the U.S. regulatory system is that makes it difficult is the large amount of regulatory bodies that could have jurisdiction over the crypto markets. Actually, none of them. Quote, one of the peculiarities of the U.S. system is the sheer number of regulators. Not only do we have state and federal allocation of responsibility that I just mentioned, but we have multiple federal financial regulators, she noted. cryptocurrency companies concur with Commissioner Pierce. Recently, fintech company Ripple sent a letter to Congress advocating for a case-by-case approach to regulating the crypto markets, with the company's CEO Brad Garlinghouse explaining in a tweet that, quote, not all crypto is the same. Damn right, Ripple is not a cryptocurrency by most standards. Quote, this industry is at a crossroads. On the eve of more congressional hearings on blockchain, we at Ripple want to make things clear. Not all crypto is the same, and we're committed to partnering with governments and financial institutions globally, he explained. As the regulatory situation surrounding crypto markets continues to unfold, it is highly probable that the world will soon know whether or not the U.S. will stay a center for innovation, or if companies will begin shifting their operations elsewhere. Yeah, that's pretty much the case. That they go getting excited with their regulations. I mean, really, they need to be taking their cue from countries like India and China and Iran. Far more repressive regimes, and every time they talk about, oh, we're going to clamp down on crypto and we're going to make it illegal, yeah, whatever. As soon as they see the incentive side of it, and they contemplate the possibility of that money going somewhere else, they're like, maybe we should just shut the fuck up about trying to regulate this shit and let these people set up operations here and contribute to our local economy. What a shocker. And that's how it happens every single time. They say, we want the tax in our coffers. We want the fucking financial activity that this can enable happening within our borders. We don't really care that we don't have any control over it, because it's enhancing the economic, the fucking GDP of our country to have that economic activity happening here. And it gives us the little advantages that kind of enables us to circumvent a lot of repressive regulations and embargoes and sanctions that are being imposed on us by other countries. The U.S. being one of them. They review that reality and then, yeah, okay, never mind. We're just going to shut up about trying to regulate this shit, and we're going to let it happen. And that's the way it's going to happen everywhere. I know I keep saying it, but it's because it's possible. And any additional regulation or any of that other shit, you're talking about additional costs that you simply do not have to tolerate. So why would you do it? You know what I mean? And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very, very much for listening. We will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Thank you again for listening, and you all have an excellent weekend. Last dance for the evening, Death Clock, Mermaider, here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening. Good night.